Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame commentary today by me, Vulcan. Today I am again playing on the pack side on a map called Fulda Gap, and this is a 1v1. On this map, the Pact and NATO actually start on opposite sides of the map, so you see that I start off by moving my FOB to the right side, so I am basically in line with this opponent. He could have by all means moved his to the left if he wanted to. However, I didn't believe this guy would because he's actually quite a low level compared to me. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm playing a lower level, and it's actually due to there not being many games on this game at the moment. So basically all I need to do is set up a 1v1. Basically wait until somebody joins, and no matter who it is, I basically just start the game. Even a level 5 could beat me. Like, I don't know how good they are with the units that they have, so they could by any means be good, and therefore I give everyone a chance. But anyway, I start with 3 BRDMs. These are command vehicles which I use on the pack side basically all the time. I leave one in my main base, and I'm using this one to go up to Foxtrot, and the one on the left here to go to India. Now these topazes are full of Motostrelki, and they are going to be heading up to these 4 positions here. So basically this forest, this town, this forest and this forest. And that will basically cut off most of the main road routes, and you'll see how helpful they are at the beginning of this game once it gets started. I've also of course got a recon. I've got 2 or 4 topazes or 8 topazes set into 2 groups of 4 to send over to India to help with the defense of this BRDM, plus the 3 strop 1s for each set of 4 topazes. Now these strop 1s are actually incredibly cheap. The reason I take the strop 1s is because they have a little bit of armor and the autocannon on the back. So I've also got this MI9 which is waiting there to get going to basically scout what he's got going on over here, which I originally didn't know at the beginning of this game. So now my BRDM is getting out in front, and these Scots which have Vidiscari in them are heading straight up to this town up here. In the meantime, these topazes are spreading out across the 3 forests, and I'm slowly starting to move these topazes and strops off to India to make sure I can defend this BRDM in case, say, I've switched sides and decide to cross across India. And you can see as soon as I get close to this village, I spot Abrams. Now this isn't good at all, and they absolutely destroy my Vidiscari of this Zakari. But luckily I basically moved my topazes with the Motostrelki and straight up and get 115 point kill on an Abrams with the Motostrelki, and it's pretty crazy for the beginning of the game. Now in the meantime, my other Motostrelki in the topazes are moving up the main road. I basically cancelled my original strategy of these 3 forests and sent my Motostrelki straight up towards these tanks, and again my last Motostrelki manages to pick off the last Abrams, which is crazy to be honest. And knowing that there's not much defense left, my BRDM makes a quick escape down the main road, while the troops I sent off to the left are readjusting to the right. Now at this point he's brought Apaches over and he's attacking these topazes, but what he doesn't realise is that I have 6 drops here, and once they're in range doing that much anti-air fire, they're gonna soon take down those aircraft, and What do you know, I take out one of the Apaches before the other one manages to just get out of range. In the meantime, I spot these two Abrams coming down the road, as well as these Bradleys. I saw that if I could get these, or thought that if I could get these close to the Bradleys, then I would be all good for taking that out. I managed to shoot down his Kiowa, which is his basically heavy helicopter recon. It's the thing is with this game, it wasn't the way I would normally play. What I normally would do is I would set up a defensive position and then attack, but he forced me because he sent so much armor and heavy units down the left side or on the right side of the map through Foxtrot. He kind of forced me to pull all my units across, because otherwise I would have had no chance and he would have ended up having Abrams in my base before I knew it. But in reaction to what happened with the Abrams over here shooting some of my strops out, I bring in a couple of Havocs knowing that their flak panzers are going to be out range. So as soon as I can see them, I make sure to get my Havocs to fire on them. And of course I get a kill. And the second one as well. So now I am basically going to fly these Havocs towards these flak panzers. Now you're probably thinking that's an idiotic move, and I didn't think so at the time until my Havocs decided to go miles into their range, and you can see this Havoc takes it right in the face and eventually gets shot down because of its mistake. Now if they were level at that point, then these flak panzers wouldn't even have been in range to shoot down that Havoc, which is what I found quite annoying at that point. It's not very often that I lose a Havoc that easily, especially to anti-air, which doesn't even have rockets. The good thing about this map, but also a bad thing about this map, is it takes ages to get reinforcements in. You can see that here I'm basically starting to bring in some reinforcements for the left side. You can see this BRDM is actually sitting on its own now. Very bad idea. For the pure fact that if a helicopter decided to just randomly come down the left side of this Foxtrot, not even intending to get this command vehicle, he might spot it. So that's not good. Therefore I bring in a recon and a couple of topazes with TO-55s, which are flame tanks, to basically support that from any ground push, and then later on I bring in anti-air to make sure that that stays nice and protected. But in the meantime, I am using these strops as bait for these M2 Bradleys. I move up the strops directly into them, while the Moto Strelki get 3 insta-kills with their 3 rockets and absolutely decimate their Bradley force. So the last one doesn't stand much of a chance now, and using the Moto Strelki in the buildings, I make sure to take out that one as soon as possible as well. Now my Havoc's still wandering around with my MO9 now. This is probably what I should have done before. I think the reason that my Havoc's got into range of the flak panzers is because their view range isn't as good as maybe a recon helicopter. Therefore they had to get closer to do the damage, which means that the flak panzers had a chance to shoot them. Now at this point they've got their anti-air and their air units. They've got one Apache left, which is what I shot down. I shot down one of them earlier, and of course his Cobras. So again, all I'm doing now is basically waiting for my troops to arrive. Now these peons are heavy artillery, they're basically howitzers, and what I was going to do is basically use them to dislodge any defensive positions which he had. Now I knew that he had quite heavy units, so there wouldn't be so many units spread around. However, if he had any infantry hidden in forests, then I wouldn't necessarily be able to deal with that, bringing in heavy armor to counter his. Therefore I needed some artillery so that I could attack the forests which he may have been hiding in. Also, the good thing about howitzers is that they can stun heavy vehicles. Like, they may not do as much damage as you may hope. However, yeah, they do a lot of damage, or they do stun the vehicles, so that helps a lot. Also, with the threat of these Apaches and Cobras, plus other air units like the Recons, I make sure to bring in a ground recon to support a Tunguska, which will be basically driving straight up the road to this forest here to take a position which will basically allow me to cover the air from my base. Bring in a book and another Tunguska and 2 strops basically to go over to India, like I said earlier. In the meantime, he picked off my Topaz APCs in there while leaving my motor Strelky. This wasn't the most exciting game that I've ever played, but again, as I said before, the games are becoming harder to come by because of the low player base for this game. And when I'm playing at almost 12 midnight, there isn't many people to actually play with, and therefore I have to kind of deal with these kind of slow, maybe, I don't know, they're different games. The trouble is with playing people who aren't necessarily experienced with the game is they try things that you would never try, and it takes you off, it actually gets you off guard. So where he used so many Abrams at the beginning of the game, I actually nearly lost that because I didn't expect it at all. You see here, my Tunguska works and managed to pick off his AA or his recon helicopters again. So that basically reduces his view range of all of the units which I already have up there. I don't have much there, however, this Havoc may be spotted occasionally. Now with that recon gone, I can make sure to get my own recon up here to see what's going on. And I see these Bradleys coming in on the right side, and my Havoc manages to stay out of range to take out a couple of flak panzers. Now you're probably wondering what this lot is down here. Well, basically, where he was reinforcing from this point, I decided it would be a good idea to bring in a lot of APCs with both ground infantry and anti-air infantry. So you can see I've got a couple of BTRs there with Iglas in them, and a lot of Topaz 2As, which are the recoilless rifle APCs with motor Strelky in them. And they will be covering this reinforcement point here to make sure that he can't necessarily reinforce as much as he wants to. Now, after taking out a second flak panzer, he decides to actually move them forwards rather than back. And in the meantime, my peons start firing on this forest here to basically make sure that he can't advance these Bradleys too far. And you can see that actually works by routing one of the Bradleys. My Havoc finishes off the or one of the flak panzers, while these Apache and Cobra decide to fly over my motor Strelky and Topazes. However, the trouble is with motor Strelky is they do shit all to helicopters. If that was, say, a more heavy unit with a higher HE power, they would have absolutely destroyed those helicopters. But unfortunately, the use of weak infantry means that any air units don't necessarily get affected, and you can see there by firing into that bush I managed to get a kill on an infantry unit, which was obviously taken in by these M2 Bradleys. Now luckily for this Tunguska, the last rocket it fires basically hits the last rocket that the Apache fires, and therefore yeah, and therefore like stops the HDGM from hitting it before it gets before he has a chance to shoot down the other aircraft. Luckily though, he moves both of his aircraft forwards, and this long range anti-air here, the book, has a chance to shoot both of them down, and it does. All I need now though, at this point in the game, is 26 points, and with that Kiowa shot down, that's the end of the game. Now you're probably thinking, how did that happen? That was a very short game. Yes, it was, and I know it wasn't necessarily the most interesting game I've ever brought to you. It only lasted 12 minutes, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. I know it's becoming harder and harder to bring decent wargame games to you. I love commentating on them, but unfortunately they're just hard to come by nowadays. Anyway, yeah, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.